Welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love Real Estate Conversations with Lisa Loveland and Kosta Hantzis. We hope everybody had a good 4th of July, Independence Day. It wasn't the best of weather. I felt it was more like Memorial Weekend than it was actually the 4th of July. It was kind of strange. But nonetheless, we are lucky to be living where we live and have our independence and freedom. Today, we wanted to talk about healthy habits. It's summertime and everybody wants to get that fit body. Changing your habits always makes huge impacts in your life. And we're not going to sit here and preach. We're actually going to talk about what we're doing to have healthy habits and change healthy habits. So I know that Kosta has given up coffee. I have not.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about when you give things up, how the body reacts, how the mind reacts, and I don't know. Why don't we get started? So, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling not bad. Had a nice dinner last night. Had some drinks and didn't have too many drinks, but it's weird because I came off 75 hard.
Yeah.
Which was I think it was May when I finished it up, but that was like no alcohol for like 75 days. Then like since then there hasn't been really too many times I've gotten out and gone drinking. So definitely now, and especially if I have like a full drink, definitely feel the effects a little faster, which is fun and interesting at the same time too. But I like to enjoy. I forget what I had. I had 2 drinks, but bartender definitely made them strong, which definitely helped a little bit. Feeling the side effects this morning, but still managed to get the workout in, which is, I guess, a tribute to healthy habits at the same time too. You still gotta, even if you're hungover, you gotta get up the next morning, go to the gym, or if it's a gym day, at least go. I know where I go, they have a steam room as well, so that comes in handy to definitely sweat out anything that comes in there. But in terms of and also, as you were saying before, the caffeine, no coffee, no caffeine, no monsters. I woke up, I was actually sick the other week, and then I was just not feeling well. I was feeling lousy. I don't know what it was, but I didn't want caffeine in the morning anyways, 'cause I felt like crap. I was like, I'm already have a pounding headache. I don't need any caffeine. Like, plus I could sit down and do nothing all day. I don't need the boost of caffeine to do it. So I was like, You know what? I wanted to quit caffeine for a bit, at least for a little bit, just to see the effects of it and see if it made any differences. And the funny thing is, it's tough to tell whether it was the sickness that caused the side effects or the actual quitting of caffeine. It's just at the same time too. But I kind of distinguished the side effects is when I stopped drinking caffeine the next day, I noticed I went from I think I had some sort of stomach bug or something like that in terms of why I was sick. But then when I didn't drink caffeine, I noticed the next day, all of a sudden, headache, pounding, terrible. It was the worst. Pressure in the back of my head. I felt dizzy, felt terrible. It was like sleeping all day. And usually, like even the days prior to that, when I was drinking coffee and I was sick, I was still just like moving around a little bit, just like relaxing. I wasn't sleeping all day. But when I stopped the caffeine, it was like the next day, I was like literally sleeping the entire day. Just so easy to fall asleep. And then that was probably, I think that's 2 weeks ago, like 2.5. It was 2 Sundays ago I stopped. So we're going on the 3rd week now. So I'll probably go for the end of the month or something like that.
Yeah.
See what happens.
See how your body feels. It's amazing when we clean out our bodies and we reintroduce stuff. It doesn't feel good. So it's so important to be aware of that, to see what you're eating. Let's back that up a little bit. It's not even just what you're eating. It's how you're thinking. It's who you're hanging around with. All of those things we're ingesting into our systems. So cleaning out all of that toxicity puts you in a little bit of withdrawal.
Oh, yeah. Definitely had some withdrawal.
Yeah.
I mean, for anybody that's thinking to do it, it's definitely an interesting thing. I've been drinking coffee. I don't even know how long. I think my mom was saying too, like, when she got pregnant, she didn't drink coffee before, but when she got pregnant with me, all of a sudden she started drinking coffee. So apparently I'm just a coffee fiend from day one.
You were doomed. You were doomed in the womb.
I don't know. I like caffeine. I like just like that boost, but if anybody's thinking of doing it, you'll definitely, and I've been drinking it for like, I don't even know, try to put a date on it, but 10 years probably consistent every day, especially the last 5-6 years every day. 1 coffee, maybe sort of energy drink after that. And then, if you're thinking of doing it, just be prepared for some headaches, kind of try to plan it out as best as possible. Hopefully you don't have a big work deadline that you're going to do it. That's probably not the best thing to do. Maybe if you're sick, try it out, because it's like, hey, you don't need the caffeine. You're sick anyway, so screw the caffeine for a bit. But it's getting better right now. So I definitely am feeling a little bit better. I want to say the headaches are gone. Those are gone after 3-4 days. So it's definitely crazy to see, as you said before, the withdrawal is insane to actually be like, all right, well, this is what withdrawal on like a minimal scale feels like.
Right. Imagine if, something bigger. And you know what? It's also, I think that's when people start to feel bad. So they don't cross the finish line. They stop before they start to feel better. So it's so important just to stay the course because there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
I decided I've been spending time on the Cape, as you know, and you've been covering me here in Boston, which is awesome. And I joined this boot camp, and I usually not into group exercises, and I'm not into 10 more. You have to hold a position for how many seconds, and then they lose track of the time. Oh my God, it annoys me so much. So I wasn't fully engaged or excited to do it, but I went anyway. I went with a friend of mine, and oh my God, I love it. It's outdoors. It's on a field. This woman, Allie, and she only needs to go by her first name. She's like Madonna or Cher. You just say Pete Town Boot Camp, and somebody says, oh my God, Allie. She's phenomenal. So anybody out there, definitely go and check it out. She's there on Saturdays and Sundays. She does privates, and it is an unbelievable workout. And I don't know what it is about her, but it's almost like your muscles are getting nourishment. You feel such a good tired when you leave, and I've been doing it for a number of weeks, and I haven't been injured once. So that's one of the healthy habits I wanted to try to get back into. I used to, pre-COVID, I was pretty routine in my exercise and my diet. I started working out with a trainer in 2013, and I'm going to do a shout out to Mark Anderson too, at Mark Anderson Wellness. He was fantastic. And in COVID, I made it a good way through, but then towards the end, I put on probably 10 or 15 pounds that definitely needs to come off. And it's not coming off very easily, I must say that. But I'm going to stay the course. And then Allie's assistant, Paul, was starting a nutrition consulting. So I signed up for that for a 90-day nutrition consulting. So I'm in the third week. And it's looking at habits, it's looking at what you do, it's looking at the emotions around eating. And our next meeting is about kind of the science of food, which I'm going to be really interested in. How everything works in your system, how much protein should you have, how much carbs should you have. There's so many different diets, you kind of lose track on what's going to work.
Right.
So this will be interesting to figure out kind of the scientific background of food and how it reacts. It reacts differently with everybody's body, but how it reacts with mine. And Paul also had us doing, actually looking at our habits. We had to do a habit tracker. I don't like things like that either.
Neither do I, but
I don't. But it was interesting. And fortunately, I had a lot of good habits.
Yeah.
One of them was, one that I didn't have that I am going to do is getting a little alarm half an hour before you go to bed. So you're off all of your electronics, no TV, no internet, no work. And it helps you get into a deeper sleep more quickly. And I've noticed that actually works. I pretty much wake up at 5:30 every morning anyway, but I have an alarm that will wake me up at 6 if I'm not up yet. And it's called a fitness tracker. So you plug in, how much water you're having, what you're eating, what your calories are.
Is it MyFitnessPal?
Oh, that's what it is. MyFitnessPal. Yeah. It's really good.
I'm used to.
I
I've
love
had
that.
MyFitnessPal for like 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm late to the game. See, I'm late to the party, but
It's good. No, it's good.
It's really
to have.
good. And just to keep track of that, 64 ounces of water, I think I'm supposed to do every day. And I can tell a difference in my skin. I can tell a difference in the way that I feel. And he's got, maybe I can talk about this next time because I don't have all of the information in front of me. He ordered a bunch of supplements and bee pollen and probiotics and all of this stuff to help stimulate the digestive system. So I'll start that on Friday. So it's fun to have something like that to focus on and you can do anything for 90 days. Right.
Yeah,
and his whole approach is that it has to be sustainable. Some of these diets, it's okay to do it and, get the weight off, but then can you keep the weight off? And what's it actually doing to your body? I mean, no carbs, that's not sustainable. And it's also not healthy. Our brain needs carbs in order to function properly. So that's going to be my next, that's going to be my task for the summer. is to take off 15 pounds, have a healthy diet, and get back into a routine. It's so easy to get out of those habits.
Oh,
Just,
yeah, for sure.
pick up a sandwich or, pick up something at the takeout. And it's, I'm much better and my body feels much better when I'm actually making a smoothie in the morning, easily digested, do my workout in the morning. I started doing 15 minutes of stretching, which I hate stretching. I'm so tight.
I'm not a fan of stretching.
But wow, just 15 minutes, what a difference it makes.
Yeah.
Huge, huge, huge difference in how the body feels and how you feel after you work out.
For sure. A couple different things there too. I've kind of had my whole stunt with, I did a video actually on YouTube about it, but I lost about in high school, I think it was junior year, lost about, went from like 246, I was like 250 maybe, to like 180 was my lowest, like
That's
178.
amazing.
And then, yeah, it was crazy. And then like now I hover like 180 to 200. And it depends. But I tried everything in terms of the diet. It's like really like when I get focused and fixated on something, it's insane. Like I'll watch countless YouTube videos. And I really found like a true like passion kind of like with the whole health and fitness community space in terms of creators in that space and just dieting and exercise and just health in general. One thing I was going to say too is the book, you mentioned two things about sleeping and eating, but the 30 minutes before bed is definitely, I read a book called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. He also has a podcast called The Model Health Show. And it's like the top health and fitness podcast. I believe it still is. And he wrote the book Sleep Smarter and Eat Smarter, which are two amazing books. I have both of them. If you want books on sleeping and eating, those are two of the best books you can get. He's amazing. And I took like a 14-day sleep challenge too, which was like, he has a little journey. You read the book and then at the end it's like, all right, here's like their 14-day quick start. And it's like each day it gets longer and longer and different things, but it starts with like 30 minutes, no screens. And then like do that for a couple of days and it's an hour, then an hour and a half. So I did that for 14 days. I won't give away the secret. It's not really a secret, but I won't give away the thing. You should definitely go get that book, Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. And it's a pretty cool like transformation. You see like blue light glasses too. I don't know if you've heard of those, but blue light glasses are great. I started using those, and I also have if you're watching this on video format, I have a Whoop bracelet which tracks your sleep and a bunch of different things, which is a good thing to do. I don't know if you've ever saw those.
No, I haven't done that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It just the founder, I think his name is Will Ahmed, or I think that's how you say his last name. I'm pretty sure he went to Harvard, and Whoop is located in Boston. So it's definitely a cool thing to like definitely see the data behind your thing, so you can be like, all right, I went out and had drinks last night. How did that affect my sleep? Yeah. And literally, do you know, it affected my sleep last night, even though it wasn't like extent like all night partying, but like even a little bit of alcohol. The key is to, they say, try to stop drinking 3 hours before bed if you're drinking alcohol, because it messes with your sleep. And people like to say, hey, like, oh, I drink, I sleep like a baby, like I'm out cold. Well, it's like, yeah, you're out cold, but your body's not actually going through the sleep stages.
That's right.
And you notice that definitely with the Whoop. Like my friends who have it now who got it, was like, yeah, every time I do that, it's like terrible recovery. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. And it's like you mentioned about getting off track of habits. And that's definitely a huge thing I struggle with. Like I usually like get on track for a little bit, and then like for me it's like kind of like all or nothing a lot of the times, which is not good, but like, hey,
yeah, me too.
It's just like it's hard. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day too, about being like how I'm just like, all right, I'm either all in or not. And it's like for me it's like if I'm sticking to my routine, it's good. And as soon as I have somebody or something comes up sometimes that knocks me off track, like I like to stick to, and I perform best when I'm like, all right, this is my bedtime, no screens before bed, no this, journal before bed, and get up early, whatever time early is. And that's another big thing too about sleeping, is like, it doesn't really matter what time you get up in the morning. It's what time is best for your body. Because it's like, just because you get up at 5 a.m. doesn't really matter. Like I tried everything. I've been getting up at 4:45. I tried 5 o'clock, 6:30. Earlier days it was more like 10, 11, depending on that. But it's just you have to find out what works best for your body. Everybody wants to like, oh, what time does look at people's routines. Oh, what time do you get up? Right. Or like, what time does this athlete get up? Or what do you do? And it's like anybody that's like in the sleep community in terms of health and fitness is like, it doesn't really matter, and sleep is super important. Oh yeah. It's like I love to sleep. I used to like more now. Now it's like, all right, I get up early, but definitely enjoy a good night's rest. And I think somebody was talking about too as well. It's like you look at a lot of these rock stars and musicians who are like in their 50s but look terrible. Their skin's like terrible, faded. They look like crap. I'm not going to drop any names, but you know, when you see those celebrities, you're like, they're only 50, 60, and they're like, look terrible. And it's because they didn't sleep. They've just been all night
No
partying.
sleeping and hydration.
Yeah. Hydration's huge.
Yeah. So how did you lose all that weight?
It was a combination of different things. And this is the big issue I have with a lot of things. It's like, all right, you do something, you're like, how do you know that this was actually the catalyst if you did it? Because if you lose weight, how do you know it wasn't the extra exercise that made the calorie that made you lose weight? How do you know it wasn't the lower calories you eating? What if it was the better food I was eating? And this really goes to anything in terms of, you can relate to it when people talk about anything. It's like, all right, how do you know that this is the reason why you're feeling like crappy? How do you know that this is the reason? And it's like, it's tough unless you're tracking it specifically. Be like, okay, like I took this out and then this happened. So I definitely recommend tracking it. Even if it's a pain in the ass. I hate tracking. I just like to do it. What I need to do it. I don't like to micromanage and do that thing. So I just like to do it. But to give kind of an answer to this, and this is debated differently, but I would say I never really ate bad food necessarily. I wasn't a candy person. I wasn't like that. I played 3 sports my entire life, except for like the 2 last years of high school. I didn't play basketball, but I think the main thing was what I did is definitely just eat less was the main thing. And I'm hesitant to say that because it's like, or not hesitant, but a lot of people want to attribute weight loss to different things. Oh, like eating healthier and then like lower and you got to eat healthier and then you're going to lose weight. But at the end of the day, really what it comes down to is calories in versus calories out. It's science at the same time, but it depends on the calories you're definitely taking in matter. Because if you're eating, say if you need to eat 2,000 calories to, I'm sure like the nutritionist, it helps if you have somebody to keep you accountable.
Right.
Just for me, got MyFitnessPal, figured out my calories. Say it was 2,000 is an easy number to do, but like say you needed to eat 2,000 calories to lose weight. It's like, for me, what I did is just try to eat kind of better food at 2,000 calories. But again, I kind of lost some weight just eating 2,000 calories while still eating not the healthiest food at the same time too. But like, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily matter the food that you put in your body in terms of just pure weight loss. Yes, if you're eating better food, you're going to feel a lot better, healthier food. Because the whole thing versus what is healthy food, first of all, that's a big question people have. I'm eating healthy. Well, is healthy just eating like lower calories, like a good diet? Is it you're losing weight and staying fit? Because there's a lot of people that are fit, they look great, they eat crappy food.
Right.
And you're like, well, how do they do that? And it's like, well, a lot of people, the bodies are different. Like people gain weight easier. There's no one size fits all necessarily. It really depends on the person because it's more of a mental game at the same time too. But it also depends on your body because it's tough to see like some people are like, how's this person eating just as much as me, but like is so skinny or like is in shape all the time? It's like, that makes no sense. So there are other catalysts. That's why I like to say calories do matter, but there are other factors at the same time too. And it really depends on you as a person. You have to try what works best for you. I think the best place to start is definitely just cutting out if you're trying to lose weight necessarily. Because I mean, gaining weight, some people have trouble gaining weight, which I don't personally understand because it's like
that used to be me when I was really young. I mean, it's certainly not me now, but I was a bean pull, and I used to love Thanksgiving because I could eat, and then I'd go out and try to buy these pants I wanted, and I was still too skinny to fit into them.
I unfortunately
Those days
did
are
not
gone.
have that. Yeah, I've never had that necessarily. I guess it's just body wise in terms of that. I feel like I look at food and I eat something and just gain weight easily.
Well, yeah, and our body, when I started in 2013, when I could not lose weight, I couldn't figure it out. And I did a program with my trainer, Mark. At that point, he was with the Cabral Studios. And they go at a holistic approach to training and eating. And I did his phase 1, which was, no sugar, no carbs, no booze, no nothing for the first 30 days. I think I might have been on that for like 90 days. And still, I lost some weight, but nothing like what I should have.
Wow.
And I ate I'll never forget this. I had a turkey salad, and I could almost see my stomach expand. And I went back into Mark and I said, "You're never going to believe this," and I thought maybe it's the turkey. Maybe there's something in the turkey. Well, he said, you should really get a food sensitivity test. So I did. And it came back that I was actually not allergic, but I was sensitive to mescaline greens, which is the spring mix.
Yeah. Had some yesterday.
So, and there was a few other things, but I'll focus on this one because it's a great example of you think that's very healthy. And I would say, we used to go out to dinner a lot pre-COVID, and I would get the side salad as opposed to the starches. And it's spring mix. It's mescaline greens. So all of that time, that was not right for my body. It was causing tremendous inflammation. So I cut that out, and it was like, those commercials where you put your sweaters in a bag or a blanket in a bag and you suck all the air out with your, and
Yep.
that's how my body went. I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty amazing, and I felt so different. The inflammation in my body, I was a runner for years, so my feet are bad, and it helped my feet, it helped my joints, it helped my brain. You're more alert. You get a little brain fog when you're not eating the right things, when you're not sleeping enough. So if anyone out there has had a similar situation where you feel like you're exercising, you're sleeping, you're drinking water, and you're eating healthy, good, organic foods, and you still can't lose weight, you might want to try to get a food sensitivity test. And you don't have to get rid of those foods forever. I got off of that for a year, but I really only needed to do it for about 6 months, 6 to 9 months. But I figured I just wanted to clear that up, and now I can eat it. I don't have a reaction. But it also brings us to the point of everything in moderation.
Right.
I did that all the time. One of the other things that I was sensitive to was crab meat.
Really?
Crab meat? That's
bizarre,
random. But I ate sushi all the time.
Effective
So I had so many of the same foods over and over that my body just started to kind of reject them. So it's good to have a balance. And also when you're doing that and journaling, I know you journal. I need to do more of it.
I haven't been lately, unfortunately.
But it's so good. It's so good
to
emotionally journal, and also it's a way to track without being, obsessed with what you're eating. But once you start writing and you realize you might have been feeling a certain way or a little less energy or depressed or whatever, and you're also doing a journal on your food, it's really interesting to pair them up and see if there's any correlation in moods and energy levels. And 100% sure that there will be a correlation.
Definitely.
And I think things like that, without getting obsessed about it, but it's a nice reinforcement when you're writing something down and you're accomplishing a goal, so that you're not looking at, if I want to lose 15 pounds, I'm not this time around. I'm not well, I do weigh myself every day. I like to torment myself by doing that.
Yeah.
But
I used to. No,
I probably should get to just once a week. But I'm not looking at the end result. I'm looking at each day. So I haven't taken off the weight, and actually went up a couple pounds, but I'm doing the activities that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm back into good habits. So I'm letting go of the need for my immediate results and just focusing on, if I get into these and I know they work, it will eventually come off. So I'm giving myself 90 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's in terms of that, it's like you should gain some weight. A big thing too is if you don't do a lot of weight training, or if you're just like getting back into weight training or just weight training in general, a lot of the times you'll have like a big workout, like you lifted a ton and you're dying. You're like on the floor at the end of the workout and you're like, oh, I'm going to lose a ton of weight from this workout. And the next day you go and the scale's up. And people are like, what the hell happened? I just did this crazy workout.
Muscle
like,
mass.
This is bullshit. And it's like, that is part of it too, in terms of like you are gaining muscle, which is heavier than fat. Mm-hmm. But a big thing too is when you put that much fatigue on your body and your muscles are fatigued and they're breaking down, your body holds on to more water because it needs to go repair the muscles. Yeah. So that's the reason why, like when you do a big workout, that next day you're usually like heavier because like your muscles are broken down. They're holding water.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's the reason why that happens. And then the tracking, the journaling is huge. I used to journal in the night usually when I did it before in the morning, but that's kind of a habit that's got thrown off track. And before you're talking about habits and correlation, it's just like, it's tough to be perfect all the time. I wish I could do it.
It's tough to be perfect anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
It
you're
would
gonna
be
mess
boring,
up.
actually. My
It
mother
would be.
used to always say, "Oh, Lisa, you don't want to be perfect. That would be boring."
Yeah,
You're right, Mom.
that's true. No, definitely don't want to be perfect.
And I'm not bored at all, so I must be so far from perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely not being perfect as of recently in terms of like the routine, because it's kind of like you do the routine. The issue I find, and I'm sure many people find, is like you do the routine and you're used to doing it. You're like, oh, okay, like I don't need to journal, or I don't need to track this. Like I'm used to it, I know it. And then like all of a sudden, a couple weeks go by and you're fully whacked out of your entire rhythm.
so
You're getting
true.
up later, and
Yep.
I'm like, now it's like my sleep got pushed back a little later because I've been watching a little bit more TV later at night, because I just haven't. I usually in the past like cut off the screens, and I still try to do that, but now like kind of wanted to just like, hey, I wanted to enjoy, like at least let myself watch like a little bit more and shows I like, or just like YouTube stuff I like, but that pushed my sleep back, and I noticed with my sleep when I was going to bed later. Now it's like I'm getting up a little bit later too. Nothing late in terms of just like crazy numbers, but later than I usually get up. Later than like when I was getting up at like 5:30. I'm pushing it back to more like 6:37. Like I got up at 8, which is not, again, late necessarily, but
right, but that's how we slip. That's how we slip. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I just lost a few more hours.
it affects a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then and you know, that's also life though. And so the biggest part of that is for us to recognize and be aware of when we've gone off, and just get back on and not beat yourself up, because
That's huge.
yeah, I mean, there's, you know, this journey called life, we're supposed to be learning and changing and understanding and paying attention. And so what? You know, we get off a little, you come back and you get back on track.
Right. It's tough though. You put a lot of pressure. I personally like put a lot of pressure on myself, because it's like, all right, if I'm not doing this, if I could be doing this, I could be doing it better, and then like I'd get better results. Or if I didn't spend this time doing that and I did more of this, then they could be better results. But then at the same time too, you got to remind yourself that you kind of have to enjoy life to some extent. I mean, especially like, it depends what your goals are too. It's like you see a lot of people on social media doing different things, and it looks like they're having the grand old time of their lives and not working or not doing anything. Or it's like, how are these, I don't know, no name calls, but just in general, like I see these people, like a lot of kids my age and older too, just like what are you guys doing? Like, what do you guys do for, like, do you guys work or something like that?
Right.
I see you guys on vacation all the time.
And imagine this, if we didn't have social media, how would you feel if you didn't see those people? I mean,
wouldn't care.
it's really important to look at that, because that stuff is fake. No one's going to put up, and I love seeing what people are doing, and it's fun, and I'm you know, 100% for social media.
Same,
However, we all have to keep it in perspective that anyone can look good with a smile on their face and, you know, out with a bunch of their friends, and you really don't know that, you know, somebody just, you know, iced him or didn't say hello to him and they were actually upset. I mean, you have no idea when we compare outsides.
Right.
All we know is how we feel inside, and that's where we have the control to change.
Yep.
So when we're looking at trying to be perfect, or we're looking at what other people are doing, that brings us so far off our mark on what actually works for us. Because when you're able to look within and make yourself happy regardless of what's going on around you, that's not the control, that's the power that we have. And when we have that power within us, we have the power to change it, we have the power to redirect, we have the power to add to, and we are able to be in a much more organic and authentic flow within ourselves. And that's hard to do too, because then you look at somebody else and you compare outsides again. Even if it's not as much as you were doing previously, you do it a little, and then you get away from yourself.
Right.
So it's fun to, well, maybe fun isn't the right word. Sometimes I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Because I like to challenge myself.
No,
but,
absolutely.
you know, to bring it back home and figure out what it is that makes you tick.
Yep.
What makes you feel good. And it goes right just like what we were saying about food. People can eat mescaline greens and look fabulous and feel fantastic. For me, it caused me to bloat, inflame, and gain weight.
It's crazy.
So we've got to have the courage in life to find out what makes us tick, and then put a plan together. Not be crazy obsessive with it, but put a plan together to see how we accomplish that.
Absolutely.
And tweak it along the ways. We don't always need this overvamping. I think when people start, like going back to your caffeine, if you started to feel bad and you started to get the headaches, a lot of people would have just said, oh my God, this isn't worth it. Coffee's not that bad for me. I'm just going to start drinking coffee again. However, your body was telling you that it's having a major reaction to caffeine. So it's a good thing to stay off of it and see how you feel. I drink a coffee too, and I don't have withdrawal like that when I go off it. It's interesting.
Wow.
Different reactions to people's coffee. Yeah.
Lucky.
And coffee, I can sleep on coffee.
Yeah.
It's not that, doesn't give me that energy boost. So again, everybody's body, and most people that has an effect with caffeine has that effect, but everybody's body is different. Everybody responds differently.
Yeah, it's just, I think that why I wanted to quit caffeine too is like, at least I'm going to start drinking coffee again probably. I don't know, it's been like 2.5 weeks. I'll probably go like a month without it, but then definitely interested to see how it reacts when I get back on it. But it feels like when I was drinking it, like it really didn't give me too much energy, because it's just like I've had so much of it, so used to it, it just like kept me going, like fine. But now that like it was never like, got to the point where it's like, all right, I have my big morning coffee, and it's like my energy, I don't all of a sudden have a ton of energy, but it's like a little bit more energy so I can keep going, like, and like focus a little bit better. But it wasn't like, all right, here's my coffee and now I'm all like cracked out and I can be super energetic. It was just like, was enough to like keep it going. But when I got off it, I was like, okay, this is what it's doing. Now all of a sudden in the morning when I don't have it, I'm like fatigued, a little bit tired, getting to the gym's a little harder. But that was what it's doing.
Adrenal fatigue too, so that's a real physical situation.
Right. Yeah, adrenal, definitely. You want to give your body, the CNS, to the central nervous system, a break as well, because it's so used to being stimulated.
Right.
It can't produce, I forget the exact terms, but your adrenal glands can't produce energy and stuff on its own if it's constantly being stimulated by stimulants. So it's good every so often just to get off it, if you can, just to at least take a little bit of a break, let your body kind of relax in terms of different things like that too. I think definitely getting to in terms of healthy habits, I didn't really talk too much about tons of healthy habits in terms of my schedule, but definitely going to the gym. I've experimented with going to the gym early in the morning, first thing in the morning, or a little later in the morning. And it's really what works best for you. Like 2 different routines I kind of go in between. It's like, all right, I get up early in the morning and I go to the gym. Like drive to the gym, go work out. That's early in the morning. Like 5:45, I'll get up and get to the gym by 7.
Yep.
Because I usually go to the gym in Boston. Shout out to Equinox in Boston. They're great there. It's definitely a cool place in terms of the city. I'll talk about something after in terms of another gym I checked out, but definitely go to the gym wherever your gym is, even if you work at home. It's easier if you work at home too, because that's a big thing with now people that when the gyms are shut down, a lot of people transition to, okay, I'm just going to work out at home. Because it is a huge time saver.
It is.
That's a huge thing. All right, I just get up and I can go work out right away. No time, no lag. And it's, for me, it's like I like going to the gym, seeing the people, being in the environment, because it puts you more in an uncomfortable place. You get more comfortable if you're just in your home, doing whatever you want, and nobody's watching. Yep. Exactly. And it's just, you grow more when you're in a little bit outside your comfort box.
I definitely noticed that. I mean, with the group exercises, like I said earlier, I didn't think I would like it. I love it. I wouldn't push myself as hard, and they're hard. And it's the best feeling when you leave.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
like, oh my God, I'm so glad that's done. I feel fantastic. I'm exhausted, but it's done, and I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
That's why I like to have those big things in the morning. You know, get up, have a smoothie, do the stretching, work out, and then come back, shower, do all the things I don't want to do in my workday first. Get it out of the way, and then let the day happen, and then wind down the day with a good meal and stretches at the end of the day, and journaling as to how you felt and what you did during the day.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm all about communication into feelings and emotions, and kind of changing patterns. You know, we all have patterns. We have had patterns that we've repeated since childhood, and some just no longer support us because our lives have changed and we continue to have them. So one of my big things right now that I focus on is, what patterns do I have that I don't like, that no longer work for me, that I think I could get rid of or change? And that's a whole nother podcast, but it's
Definitely, yeah.
really interesting when you start to identify mostly limiting patterns, because when things don't work anymore, it's a limitation. And those things are hard to change. We have to change them with our subconscious.
Yeah.
Our conscious brain only knows what we have done, and our ego protects us and wants to keep us in comfortable places. So you've got kind of the battle within, right? Wanting to affect and make changes, and having our minds work in a way that want to keep us in the same place because it's what we know. So, and we've talked about this in other podcasts, and we'll continue to talk about it because I think it's so important, and I also think it's so interesting to challenge ourselves to get out of those comfort zones, and not just by forcing it, but by really feeling it and sitting with it and understanding what it is that you feel, and being aware of who you are, how you react instead of respond, and start responding differently. And that changes so many things in our lives. It will change what you crave food-wise. And once you start putting healthier people, environments, food, and exercise into your body, it changes your life.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said. I almost want to end it there, but I'll say, like, one thing I noticed too, definitely self-awareness is huge. We talk a lot about that. It's like I try so often just to like sit down and ask myself, okay, what makes me happy? What do I actually want to do? Screw whatever you're doing. If it is a good exercise to do, if it's like, all right, you're in a career, and I like to speak mainly to like, I can speak to different groups of people in terms of like relatability, but I relate most to people that are around my age and have the same experiences, and because I've only gone 24 years
totally
in my life,
normal.
I can only relate to
Yes.
24 years. I can try to be like, all right, that's how it works when you're 30, but I'm not 30.
And it wouldn't be credible.
Exactly. That's
It
why I don't
wouldn't be
like talking
credible
about
because
it.
you would only be preaching. You wouldn't be doing.
Exactly. That's a big thing why I kind of took a step back in terms of my thought process, in terms of goals and how I speak. Because I like to talk a lot, but lately I've been, it might be a pro or a con, but I've tried to like hone back a little bit more, because it's like I have a lot of goals, and sure, I've accomplished a good amount of goals that I've wanted to so far, but I have a lot bigger goals, and it almost feels
I know
as
you
though,
do. That's what I love about you.
Yeah, and it's just like, tell you all about the goals, you know them, but to the crowd listening to this right now, it's like, for me, it's like, I have a lot of bigger goals, and sometimes it feels as though if you haven't achieved those goals, then you shouldn't really be one to talk in it, which is, it's true and it's not. So I definitely want to do a better job of just talking more to my experiences, instead of like being like, hey, like this is what you should do when you're in this position, when you're not. Because a lot of people can read stuff and watch videos and think you know it, and you might know the answer. I watched a video on that, so I could know that. But I'm trying to do a better job of me personally being like, okay, like I have these bigger goals. That's great. I do want to accomplish them, and I will accomplish them at some point. But I only want to speak once I accomplish those, then I can speak from that aspect and really position myself as, okay, because a lot of people talk about doing courses and like different things like that. And it's like these people that do gurus online, do courses, and they've never actually done any of those things.
Right. But, and I know our time is running out, so this would be a great podcast for another time, but I agree with what you're saying, but you can talk about the process, because so many times people don't think it's worthwhile or worth anything because they haven't achieved that end result. But how are you going to get there if you're not talking and express and experiencing the entire process? And people can learn from that. You can learn from that. You can surround yourself by people who are of like mind, and getting from A to Z is an interesting journey that should be talked about and tracked. And then when you get to Z, then you can do your TED Talks.
Exactly. Yeah, then I can do that stuff. But I was doing the YouTube in terms of different things like that, like trying to speak to that in terms of experiences. But again, I'll probably get back into doing YouTube. I don't know if anybody listening to this has ever seen my YouTube videos, but I stopped kind of doing that and just doing the podcast instead, because it's a form, because I was like, I'm trying to figure out more of myself in terms of what route I want to go down in terms of like branding, in terms of like who I want to be as a person. And I still have a lot to learn. I do want to give one shout out, because I didn't talk about in terms of fitness, and you talked about trainer. Is the trainer, you're using your trainers on the Cape, right? That person? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So So it's not a conflict of interest. I want to give a shout out to my trainer who has helped me so much. We worked out together for, this is over a year now. And he's just like becoming more of like a friend in terms of anything, which is like,
great.
I love to have. It's like, I need somebody as a trainer that pushes you, but actually cares about your well-being, is not there just to rip you off.
You're not a number.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So I want to give a big shout out to Louis Naranjo. If you want to check out Louis, DM me or something. I forget his actual Instagram handle, but he's a great trainer. Can't recommend him enough. We had a great conversation the other day about goals in terms of that, and he's just been someone that it's tough to find people that are actually in line with your vision and goals and want to support you.
And actually, shout out to everybody out there that's listening. If you guys want to jump on board with Kosta and I and do healthy routines and get to check in weekly, we're totally on board with that. The more the merrier.
Absolutely. If you have any questions too, I know we don't really, we kind of just have the conversation. That's it. We don't really talk about like how to get in contact with us too, but definitely, of course, we talk about the Instagram too, and everything's linked in terms of the bio, in terms of the description to go to Instagram or Facebook and different things like that too. But what I'll do too is I'll link, you can get to our Instagrams too. I think they're both just our names too.
Yeah. At Lisa Loveland.
And then mine's just at Kosta Hantzis. I'll put something in the bio too. But if you ever have questions about different things too, the beauty of this podcast and why we started it too is like, although we're both in different age groups, we both have very similar outlooks on life and very similar routines and goals in terms of different things like that. So that's why it works. But again, at the same time, when we talk about a lot of times too, it's like still that although we might think the same and have the same interests in certain things like that, people are still going to relate to a different person, of course.
Absolutely.
We're both the same in terms of that, but in terms of mentality and stuff like that. But if you ever have any questions or need some support, a big thing for me too is like having somebody that shares the same beliefs or is needing to go out there and at least ask for help, because you might feel as though, especially for people my age, it's like, hey, like a lot of people are going out and doing this and drinking and partying.
You don't have to do it on your own. Yeah. It's that group. It's that, group thought, a group consciousness.
Yeah.
It can be a bit toxic. So understand, if you want to go and get healthy, give us a call. We're here for you.
We're no nutritionists, but we'll give you personal experiences.
We'll fire you up.
We'll give you the references so you can go. We're no doctors here, but we're just giving you advice from experience. And a lot of the times too, the doctors and experiences and the science doesn't necessarily translate to your own routines and habits. It doesn't always work. It might tell you to do this, but your body might do something else. So
exactly,
it depends on you as a person. But I think that's a wrap. Enough talking for the podcast. We're going on.
All right.
I think that's the longest podcast.
I think so. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining, and we will be back next week.
Thanks, guys.